If you had the chance to take any quarterback in the 2022 NFL Draft, who would you have chosen? Well, the Steelers found themselves with that question at pick 20. And the answer? The hometown kid, Kenny Pickett. He spent 5 years at Pitt, and wow, he needed every single one of them. But first, thank you to Factor for sponsoring today's video. I go to the gym every single day, and Factor makes my life so much easier. There's no prep, no mess, and there's no worry about a meal plan or prep. The meals come together in just minutes, so you don't have to worry about what you're gonna have for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Factor meals are prepared and ready to eat in under 2 minutes. Plus, it works with any diet. Factor offers keto, calorie smart, chef's choice, veggie, and vegan options that include things like seafood, meat, and plant-based meals. I have a lot of goals just in the gym and in my own personal life, and I'm able to save a lot of time by not having to grocery shop. Plus, it works well with my diet and what I'm trying to get in terms of nutrition. Factor is now owned by HelloFresh, and with a wide array of different meal plans between the two, it's super easy to switch back and forth between the two. And now our viewers can get either one at a discounted price. So go to go.factor75.com/JDProd120 and enter code JDProd120 to get $120 off your first 5 weeks of meals. Again, go to go.factor75.com/JDProd120 and enter code JDProd120 to get $120 off your first 5 weeks of meals. Thank you again to Factor for sponsoring today's video, and let's get right back to it. Kenny Pickett wasn't exactly a star from the second he took the field at Pitt, and by that, I mean he wasn't very good. He had his moments, and a lot of those moments were last season. Look, COVID was a very rough period for pretty much everyone, but holy hell, did it benefit Kenny Pickett, because his college career was supposed to be over until the NCAA granted an extra year of eligibility, and Pickett was able to come back for one more year. Before 2021, he was an average quarterback at best. He put up the same exact passing numbers the 2 seasons prior, 13 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, plus 10 rushing touchdowns over the span. That being said, Pickett did show a good amount of promise as a sophomore. He led the Panthers to their first ACC Coastal Division Championship, and he did throw double the number of touchdowns as interceptions. But at that point, Pickett was still doing more to ensure Pitt didn't lose, rather than being the reason why they won. Funny enough, I actually think the most iconic game of his career is the only game he started as a freshman, not the ACC Championship game in December when he torched Wake Forest and of course hit the defense with a fake slide that essentially a whole rule was made of because of him. But when Pickett was a freshman, Pitt decided to let him start the last game of the season and bench Ben DiNucci. Yes, that Ben DiNucci, the meme himself, and somehow still the Cowboys' backup quarterback. I guess the Panthers wanted to see what they had in Pickett, so they threw him to the Wolves against an undefeated number 2 Miami team. But then Pitt shocked college football. Pickett scored 3 touchdowns and most importantly, didn't turn it over. It was a bright sliver of hope for Pitt. Of course, then Pickett was mostly mediocre, and even the year they did win the Coastal, he was only 500 as a starter, but hey, that's beside the point because he figured it out in 2021. He did the whole Joe Burrow out of nowhere from bad to good career arc. It makes no sense, but it doesn't matter. All of a sudden, Kenny Pickett was one of the best players in the country. He broke school records with over 4,300 yards and 42 touchdowns. He did it all. He was an All-American, ACC Player of the Year, finished 3rd in Heisman voting, and went 11-2 overall. Everyone loves a good underdog story, and in a way, that's what Kenny Pickett is. A guy that wasn't great in college, but somehow figured it out, and coming out of high school, he didn't have a ton of great offers. Pickett was pretty good in high school. A New Jersey kid that had passed for over 4,600 yards and had 60 total touchdowns, rated a 3-star, 33rd best pro-style QB, 21st best player in Jersey. He actually committed to play at Temple, but obviously he flipped to Pitt. Pickett did have a few other offers from Power 5 schools, North Carolina, Boston College, and Iowa, but he only ever officially visited Pitt. After 5 seasons playing at Pitt, it's safe to say that Pickett's probably not going to need directions to Heinz Field, the stadium that the Steelers and the Panthers share. It is truly an awesome story to have a guy that spent the last 5 years under the team's nose to be their heir to Ben Roethlisberger. Fitting to say the least, but 39 years ago, the Steelers needed a quarterback, and oh man, they passed up on the hometown kid who went 6 picks later, and I'd say he had a pretty decent career. Hall of Famer Dan Marino. Now, you can imagine that if the Steelers passed up on Kenny Pickett and he went on to be in the Hall of Fame, or even just an elite quarterback, it'd be crazy, and Steelers fans would never hear the end of it again. That being said, I don't think that's where Kenny Pickett's career is headed. Much like Kenny Pickett's fiance, who looked like she was on the brink of crying all night as she watched her future home get smaller and smaller as Pickett slid, I am worried. There are still a lot of questions that are going to be answered soon about Pickett, and I don't think they're going to go his way. Also, no, this isn't about his hands. I'm not even worried about his hands. I'm worried about everything else. Pickett certainly improved in his final year in college, but a lot of his issues were covered up for a variety of reasons. It's no secret that his wide receiver, Jordan Addison, is an absolute menace on the field, and there's a reason why he was awarded the Biletnikoff Award as the nation's best wide receiver. Additionally, I know the ACC better than any other football conference. I grew up a Virginia fan, Darren's an NC State fan, and I'm actually a senior at Virginia Tech, so a lot of ACC football. I will say, Pickett torched us in October in a blowout win here in Blacksburg, but even then, I still have a lot of questions. It was a down year for the ACC in terms of talent, especially defensive backs. Pickett had the advantage of an elite receiver, good offensive line that was able to cover up his inconsistent timing, and that's why a lot of the time you're going to see him run away from the pocket or just resorting to scrambling. I do like Kenny Pickett. I always root for guys in the pros that I got to watch in person in the ACC, and I even got to meet Pickett in Brooklyn back in March, and for the record, his hands don't look small. Regardless, I am going to root for his success. I just don't think it's ever gonna come.